JP World. Today you are going to be finishing up looking at the Middle Ages Europe, then moving into the Mongols. So I wanted to get you really quickly caught up on what we did on Tuesday, if you missed it, or if we were in a time, or whatever the case was. But on Tuesday, what we talked about first was that after Rome fell in 476, Europe fractured into two halves. In the western half, you have feudalism, and in the eastern half, the Byzantines continued on what the Romans had kind of started. So feudalism, if you weren't there, you missed it, or whatever, really quickly, is a hierarchical political, social, economic, cultural system with the king at the top, who then divides his land up between some nobles. The nobles in turn take that fee for that land grant, divide it up into in between some different knights. They then divide that land up again to the serfs, and the serfs are the people who make this society or this economy go. They are the ones who are tied to the land, meaning they can't leave or do much at all without the Lord's permission, which is their knight. And then in return, the serfs are providing the knights and the nobles and the kings up that chain with food, money, fealty, meaning loyalty. So basically what this is a system that divides up the land available into smaller and smaller parcels, and in return, they get food, money, fealty, maybe even some military service. The problem with this is that it's incredibly decentralized, meaning there is not a lot of structure or organization, and it's all based on relationships and agreements. So not a whole lot of substance really gets done other than people survive. Because of that, there's not a lot of goods being produced for trade. There's not a lot actually going on other than, like I said, people farming and fighting and surviving. Now, the eastern half of the Europe in this time period was the Byzantines, and they considered themselves the Roman Empire. Byzantines is a term that is imposed on them after the fact by historians. They were centralized. They had an emperor and capital at Constantinople. They built roads. The problem with the Byzantines is that they are on the west. They are bordered by these kind of decentralized feudal states, so there's not a lot happening over there. To the east, they have Islam, who is probably the major world power in this time period. So there's just not a lot of places for them to expand. Theoretically, they could go west, but they're not going to leave their eastern borders untended when there's this big superpower that is Islam over there. So the Byzantines are Christian. They are centralized. They carry on some facets of the Roman Empire for a while, but largely they're overshadowed by the Abbasids and some later caliphates and Islamic states, namely the Ottomans, in the later years. So your standards actually don't even mention the Byzantines. I feel like you need to know them because they were somewhat important to Middle Ages, but what we need to know is that when Rome falls, feudalism in the west, Byzantines in the east, the Byzantines are sandwiched by these feudal states in the west, and then the Abbasids and Song China to the east. So they're a little bit handcuffed.